I put up the vote links this last week. Looking at the numbers, we're getting 60, 70 votes on each link at this point, which is fantastic and phenomenal. My understanding is that we've seen some new players on lately. I sincerely hope is a continuing trend going forward, because we could use some more players. I think I'm going to write some code to generate some statistics for 9B90's homepage, to go ahead and show numbers for how many new people have signed onto the server this week as far as new usernames or whatever have you. And then, like, maybe another couple of other statistics, like, you know, how many gapples are in the game or other things like that. If you have a suggestion for a number you'd like to see on that statistics page, PM it to me on Reddit or throw it to me on Discord, and I'll see if I can make that happen. As far as the update changes that are coming, yeah, I'm building the upgrade feature. The upgrade feature will be $5 a month going forward. It will come with all the features, including the vault and the single MOTD, etc. I think that that'll solve some of the general financial issues. It's not like I can't afford to pay for the server bill, but it's more along the lines of I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think it would be nice if the server didn't end up costing me $200 a month. Because at the end of the day, I'm paying two ways. One for my time, and one for my actual currency. If I could eliminate one of those problems, that would be fantastic. And I like running 9B, so I don't think I'm going to eliminate my time investment into it. I think that we're going to go ahead and see a couple of people sign up for that platform, and I'm hoping to see 10 or 15 people sign up for $5 a month. That would help quite a bit. Let's talk a little bit about Google's ad platform and all of those sweet, sweet ad pennies that are currently under threat thanks to a guy named Logan Paul. I'm pretty sure that half of YouTube has been nothing but videos about Logan Paul for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I haven't clicked on a video about it in probably a week and a half, ever since the news broke, and I'm still getting bombarded by nothing but comments and like, oh, we should ban this guy, or I don't want to hear anything more about it. It's kind of stupid and it needs to die. I don't know what anybody else thinks about the whole situation, but the dude handled it inappropriately. That's obvious. Nobody's perfect, and I think they're overly punishing a bad decision. I really do. And I'm tired of hearing about it, and I'm tired of people complaining about how, oh, he's not being punished enough, or whatever have you, or he's being punished too hard, or it doesn't matter. None of this matters. If he truly did something wrong, then fine. Let him get arrested for it, which I doubt he did anything actually legally wrong. But beyond that, stop giving the dude attention. There's nothing there. There's nothing interesting about finding a dead guy in a forest. I mean, yeah, it sucks. And the way he handled it sucked even more. But the reality is, it doesn't matter why he did it, or even anything about his channel. And punishing him by taking away his YouTube sponsorship, vetting everybody else's content more, and making it harder to actually use YouTube is just a quick way to ensure that people don't end up using your platform. The stricter YouTube's guidelines have gotten, the harder it's been for people to go ahead and follow those rules. With the demonetization and the adpocalypse and all those sorts of things, you end up with a system where people only create content that's going to make them money, and the content that they create is going to be very narrow focus, very boring. Like, the content I create is not advertiser friendly in any sense of the word, and I don't intend it to be, and so for that reason it doesn't end up at the top of Google, air quotes. Videos that get advertisements on them get promoted more by Google. In my case, when I'm doing videos like this, there's no money for YouTube to make, so they don't bother promoting it. And YouTube is trying to essentially narrow down the content so that basically everything's kid and advertiser friendly, to the point where we end up with the same thing that happened on broadcast television. Literally everybody is doing the exact same thing for the views, and the community leaves and goes somewhere else. I think we're going to start to see that with YouTube, and I'm worried that that is going to happen because YouTube is a fantastic platform for getting content out there. Number of votes after the names and the tab thing. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't particularly like that idea. It creates a system that forces people to vote, so to speak, in order to seem in, or in Sayodos's case, which I'm sure I'll hear about, more along the lines of, I didn't do it, stay poor. Let me unmute him real quick. I think the meme you have is stay poor, or stay mad,
what?
poor.
Yeah, something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Add the death message thing. Yeah, I'm working on it. I have to go in and type all of those in. I haven't actually finished typing all of those in just yet. For those who don't know, though, toggle death messages is now a thing. You can actually do that as a player. Should see some new death messages probably in the next week or two. Along with that, we'll probably end up seeing the changeable MOTDs. Maybe sometime mid-February, we'll see that new statistics page I was talking about.
That's all maybe.
Yes, it's all a maybe. Everything's a fuzzy timeline.
Or when you do for free, man. I feel ya.
Little to do with whether or not I do it for free, and a lot more to do with the amount of time I have to invest versus getting an actual paycheck.
Spend a lot of time here that you could spend getting a lot of money instead.
Yes, exactly. Investing an hour to 9p a week, probably spend closer to 5 or 10.
And it costs you $200 a month. Doesn't exactly seem like good business to me.
It isn't. It's a hobby. I mean, like unless I hit it off like House and end up with a giant-ass queue, this will never be a profitable enterprise. I wouldn't mind for it to be a profitable enterprise, but I'm not going to set myself up to end up like House. Even if the server was jam-packed full of people and we needed to implement a queue, I wouldn't implement it like House did. It doesn't make for a good game, in my opinion. I think it makes it pay to win, and I think that it disincentivizes people to get on and play every day. And so...
Yeah.
What we've seen is that 2B over time has had an issue with this where their player base keeps dropping. And I get that 9B hasn't exactly had the healthiest of player numbers, but you do end up with a system that basically becomes all about the money, and that's what 2B has become.
Well, yeah, it's easy to say right now, but then again, he had like 1,000 players worth, or willing to pay 20, or is it 20 or $25 each for a queue spot, and then to an all-2. Like, I'd probably have gone with the money.
I mean, I get wanting the money, but there could have been better ways for him to do that. He didn't invest any time or effort into solving the problem so more people could be online at the same time. I feel like he went after the easy solution, which was, let's see how much we can milk this for. And with the amount of donations he was getting, he should have been able to create something that allowed for more people to be online eventually and done away with the entire problem, but he didn't do that. And it's been, what, a year and a half now at this point? Nearly 2 years?
And they're struggling with players right now. 200? 180? Some shit like that.
I mean, they still have a queue, don't they?
Yeah, but it's like the queue starts at like 80 players now.
So they're just filling up the blanks to make money?
Yep, exactly. They're often reserving like up to 70 player slots just for the queue.
That seems a little ridiculous to me, but then again, it wasn't about whether or not people could actually get on the server, it was about the money. Still is about the money. There was a point in 2B's history where basically the server bill had to be paid or the server would just shut off. Players stepped in and made donations to make sure that the server stayed up.
I read a bunch about Oftopia, and how he pretty much just paid for the server for like 6 months in a row and kept it alive.
I didn't have money at that point in my life, so...
Yeah. Like 4 players on monthly. It was pretty rough times for the poor German guy. No, he paid a lot of money though. So shout out to Oftopia for doing that.
It was nice of him to do that, but the reality is, if I were him, I'd feel pretty betrayed right about now.
That he would just sell it out right after. It's pretty fucked up.
They got their 15 seconds of fame, and they basically trashed everybody who was one of the core supporters of the server for a long time.
It was pretty fucked up, the queue originally, at least before he added the vet queue. That helped a bit.
I felt like it was a problem, but it was more fair than it is now. At this point, it's just, he's a sellout. Yep. Before it was, oh, that's frustrating, but at least he's taking care of the people who helped make the server what it is, because the reality is, I don't make the server what it is, the players make the server what it is. The memes and the jokes and the subreddit are all because players keep coming back. Without the player base, basically the server doesn't exist. That's why I try to listen to people, that's why I take comments on the subreddit every time I think, maybe we'll do this or maybe we'll do that. That's why I ask for feedback. Usually I listen to what the community has to say before just brazing ahead. That's why when I was like, maybe I'll enable Dupe, a good number of the community didn't want that and had good reasons for not wanting that. And I get that. I decided, well, maybe there's another way to kind of do the same thing there. The goal there was, it would be nice to not pay the server bill. Looking at it, I figured somehow, some way, someone is going to figure out a way to dupe in 9B. I figured if there's going to be a way to dupe in 9B anyway, the server might as well benefit from it, was my general thought. But other people convinced me, well, while that's true, you're deflating the value of a dupe for the server. I understand a little bit better now. Let's say that there's actually a dupe. There's a sense of achievement that comes with finding one or actually pulling one off.
Yeah, it seems exciting. You have to keep it secret. There's all these things about a dupe. I've been around for all 4 of them.
And you're basically blaring awake for, 16, 18 hours at a time. Like, I've got to get all this stuff, like...
Yeah. The first one was the real struggle, because it was 3 items at max you could dupe with a minecart through an end portal, and there was no shulker boxes. So I was just slaving away, pushing fucking minecart after minecart into an end or another portal.
So
really
you heard it here first. Seodos likes stuffing his meat into minecart through an end portal.
Yeah, exactly. That's my preferred sexuality, and if you hate on it, I will get your YouTube channel banned and demonetized forever.
Like, there were just too many coincidences all together there at the same time. When the dupes do come out, they're challenging usually, and by me removing that element of challenge and that element of making it something fun and interesting to do in the game, I'm in effect making the game worse, which is the main reason why I decided not to do the donation for a dupe. That argument right there wasn't something that I could have come up with. It was something that another player came up with and convinced me of. Literally, there's fun to be had in attempting to find dupes and waiting for dupes, and if you remove that, you remove some of the fun from the game.
That's like the second biggest satisfaction I've ever had. I was hitting a successful dupe approximately a month ago, I think. But both these guys got a ticket for like $150 each. For crossing the road, no cars. This guy was stopped 500 meters up the road at a red light because there's like 2 traffic lights there. So yeah, they got fucked pretty hard, right in the butt for walking a red light with no cars around. Welcome to Denmark, boys.
Yeah, that's stupid.
It is. You want to know?
Especially if they looked both ways. Like, it'd be different if they were playing chicken or they'd like just started walking when somebody was driving by or whatever. But if nobody was going to hit them,
like a shit ton of fucking traffic, I'd understand.
If nobody was at risk of hitting them, right, then it didn't matter. It wasn't going to impact anybody.
I agree. You want to hear something even more outrageous?
Shoot.
Okay, so the biggest gambling site in Denmark with like lotto and lotteries, etc. You can bet on games on there, so on, is owned by our government. How you feel about that, JJ?
Fine. Like, it doesn't bother me unless it's illegal for other people to compete with the government.
No, it's not necessarily. Actually, I think it is when it comes to lotteries, like big lotteries. Because there's no other big lottery. Like you have the fucking what's that? Powerball.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have a bunch of other things. For states, we only have one thing that's called lotto. It's like the big deal.
I don't like it here either because it's illegal for companies to start up their own lottery. So, but here, like, it all goes to Parks and Rec, all of the profit. So it's not too terrible. Most other societies don't believe in freedom of speech, actually, which is sad. I may not agree with whatever somebody says, but I'm not going to prevent them from doing so. And there's a difference in between advocating violence and
freedom
speaking
of speech,
your mind. If you say that...
Yeah, your actions can't have consequences. You can't just call in a bomb threat and be like, yo, we got freedom of speech. I can say whatever I want.
Yeah, that it's interesting to me because people don't seem to understand what freedom of speech actually means. There are these people out there who are arguing that saying something bad about somebody is hate speech. So, like, if you say, I don't like trans people, that's hate speech as far as they're concerned. From their perspective, they're calling that, like, a violent act upon the person. When did saying something become assaulting somebody? This is exactly what's wrong with our society. Hate speech isn't a thing. Either you're advocating for hurting people, which is entirely different, that's a threat. And if you're not advocating for hurting people, that's protected by the First Amendment, and it should always be protected by the First Amendment.
Yeah, I strongly agree with that. Nobody's really getting assaulted by somebody calling you fat. Like, if you cannot emotionally get over that, that's your issue, really.
Today, saying we hate Donald Trump as president or whatever have you, nothing happens. People say it every day, all day.
Yeah, actually, you probably get in trouble if you don't say it at some universities, I'd imagine.
You know what? Yes. I don't personally hate Donald Trump. And the people who are like, oh, he's the worst president ever. No, he really isn't. He's pretty bad. Hasn't done anything super terrible. He's not a good president.
Didn't do anything super illegal. So, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, the last 5 presidents are all basically on the same equal footing. They're all sellouts for major corporations. They're all fairly dumb. Like, even Obama with his doctorates, fairly dumb. They're all vestiges of personality, so they're pop culture. They're either pop culture or against pop culture, A or B. They're not somebody who's there because they're intelligent. They're there because they managed to get a group of people to say, hey, this guy's pretty badass, or whatever have you. It wasn't about who was the most intelligent person for those races, right? Because neither Hillary nor Trump were the best person for the job. Shouldn't we be hiring, like, Nobel laureates and scientific geniuses and people who like, revolutionize our societies for the roles of leaders instead of whoever can garner the most likes, essentially?
Yeah, well, in theory, when we talk about it, democracy is pretty dumb, because people are pretty dumb. If you would do it the optimal way, if you just look at pure evolution, democracy is not the right fit.
To be fair, there are no other systems of government which produce the kind of prosperity we see because of the way human nature works. The problem is you have a flawed system because you have flawed people. You can't produce a perfect system from flawed ingredients. It'd be like trying to bake a cake and using bad flour. You're always going to have a bad cake. Some cakes are going to turn out more edible than others, but they're still going to be bad cakes. The problem is that we as a society don't pick leaders based off of their merits and their capabilities. We pick them based off of
image.
Essentially, a culture of personality is what I was getting at, but that's enough politics for a lifetime there, because we're drowning in it.
Buddies.
I don't hear anything about Danish politics, by the way.
Well, that's because we're not very scandalous. Just a tiny little happy country.
The reality is, the smaller of a group you get together, the more like-minded they're going to be. That is the reality in voting and in democracy in general. And it's not always the case, but usually. Police officers or swatting even have, like, guns in Denmark?
Well, yeah, they do, but they barely ever pull them. Like, it's so rare that you hear people get shot here. Luckily, we don't have it. You said we're very small.
We have pockets of very screwed up areas, and then beyond that, like, most of the United States is just wonderful. Like,
yeah, I completely agree. There's just a lot of communities that just breeds crime.
Our society is bound by the worst among us. So, like, in Denmark, the worst among you get taken away very easily, and there aren't many cases of that. In the United States, there are enough cases in enough areas that we have a different view on that here than you would there.
If you ask most people about America, or at least most European people and most white people, they will know that America has like quite a violent history. Or, you know, they often get bad rep in newspapers and shit for having violence issues.
How much we as a society help people with, you know, deficient mental states. The United States doesn't really do that at all. We treat that as a personal problem, not as a societal problem. So, like, I don't know how Denmark does it, but in the United States, if you're fucking batshit crazy, we don't do anything about that. That's your problem.
You just kind of leave be your problem.
You have universal health care there. You have universal health care, which changes that considerably because anybody who needs help is immediately sent to a doctor, I presume.
Yeah, well, we can go to a doctor at any point we wish to. The problem here is that doctors don't have as much power, especially with issues such as depression or anxiety. Actually, they have a lot of power around anxiety. They don't have as much around depression, if I'm correct.
Well, depression doesn't cause people to go out and shoot up a school, usually. Like,
well, it's not usually.
Normally that's rage or anxiety, like you said, or some sort of other mental
disorder, neglect as a child. And that's also very easy to get away from here in Denmark. Like, there's very few cases of super bad parenting, which leads to violence amongst children, because we're very strict upon that.
I mean, the United States is fairly strict in its child laws as well. It's just, the reality is, we don't, as a society, try to blend people together very well as much as your society does. So, like, from what I understand of Danish society, you actually have, like, feelings days or whatever have you at school. Not exactly feelings days, but people talk more about their thoughts and emotions there than we do here. Like, in school, school here is about learning. School there is more about getting along with everybody else.
Well, yeah, something like that, because a lot of people in Denmark have this strict belief that better environment leads to better learning. So, like, one of the fundamentals in that, is that people don't get bullied as much. Well, they still do, but, you know, they make a bigger deal of it. You know, generally, we had days when I started at the current university I'm going at, where we had to get to know each other, and we had to, like, bond really well. It was fucking terrible, if you ask me, but it helped the class get a better teamwork, less bullying.
People need to feel like they belong, otherwise they create problems for themselves and others. That's the reality.
Exactly. Yeah. Their learning ability goes down if they don't want to go to school, and they don't want to go to school if they don't fit in.
Thank you for tuning in. I think that's going to be the end of this week's live stream. Appreciate talking with you. It was a fun discussion.
It's a very civil discussion.
We'll be doing it again next week. 4 o'clock, pick some topics, send them to me on Reddit. Pick some topics and send them on YouTube or whatever. Anyway, thanks. Have a wonderful afternoon, and we'll see you again.